Hi, my name is Corey Minter. I'm here with Darcel. We're with Trinity Employment Specialists. We're a staffing organization located here in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and we staff specifically for travel nurses all throughout the entire United States. One of the things that we want to do is we want to add value to job seekers that might be a traditional nurse and might be looking into travel nursing. Now, we've got a lot of people, Darcel, that work with us that are travel nurses. They've done it for a long time. Really, we've got a lot of people also that they've heard about travel nursing. They know a little bit about it, but they just don't know some of the details. So what we want to do throughout this video cast, and we've got several, you should check them out if you haven't seen anything other than this, but finding the hot topics of travel nurses that are probably just unknowns. And we want to try to help people to understand the differences, because knowledge gives you power and it gives you a lot of freedom and what am I trying to say? Peace when you're trying to go into this. So this topic is canceled contracts. They can happen on both the nurse and the hospital side. And I want to talk to you today, or actually I'm going to ask Darcel some questions, because to be honest with you, she knows it better than me. What happens if a contract is canceled? Because as a travel nurse, what you're doing is you're signing a contract saying, listen, I'm going to complete this. It's very similar as when you sign a contract saying that you bought a car. All right, you actually got to pay for that car.
Correct.
And then if you sign a contract as a travel nurse, you have to complete that contract. Now, the good thing is it's only 90 days, roughly, or 3 months. However, what happens in the case that some kind of an emergency happens and either the hospital's unable to complete that contract or the nurse isn't? So we're going to dive into that.
Okay.
First thing is cancel contracts. What does this look like, Darcel?
Well, this happens very rarely where a hospital will cancel a contract, because only reason they cancel was really two reasons. First one, it would happen if census drop.
Okay.
Because they bring in travel nursing because their census is really high.
Yeah.
They have a higher volume, they're short nurses, so they bring contractors in. And this is happening all across the US. So if the census drop, they would first look to their nurses, their nurse staff,
Right.
to make sure, because they contracted with agencies. The hospital have a contract with an agency that says, okay, we could cancel one shift here and there. There's a minimum of the shifts that could cancel. But if they go and cancel the whole remaining of the contract, it's due to census drop, very low. And that's very rare that happens. Very
Now,
rare.
this just happened in, I think it was April. And this is completely due to COVID. Darcel comes in. She says, "Listen,
Oh, God.
we have
Tell the story.
we have all of a sudden all of these contracts are being canceled.
Yeah.
Everything is happening. I've never seen this happen before.
Never.
This is something that everyone has seen a complete surprise due to COVID." But Darcel, I'm a little bit confused by something, because literally just a few minutes ago, I go into Darcel's office and I'm reading saying that there's actually an increase in especially pay and demand for COVID nurses. But yet, when we go into our travel nursing websites, there are so few job opportunities. The census obviously is still way down, but there's an increase. I don't understand. Help us understand this, because we're in the middle right now. We're at the end of June. We're moving into July, just so you can kind of get an understanding of where we're at time-wise. Go ahead.
And typically, going into that, this is the high time for travel nursing. So just like Corey mentioned, due to COVID, it's like we just off the map, off the rails. It's unusual, but the pay for crisis rates has went astronomically high. Okay.
And the numbers that they were saying is like normally it's $1,500 a week, and we're now at $3,000 a week. Did I read that right?
Absolutely. Some nurses make $5,000. Again, it's regions where the needs are. where the highest volume of COVID is, okay? And what they're doing is, and the reason we're not seeing that is because all the other specialties in the hospitals, they don't have them. They can't use a med surg nurse. So they,
Right.
and they're just to get a scope of why we're not getting those needs, they're using their own nurses and paying them a little bit more, okay, to
Right.
take on those contracts. So they're training them. So the ones that we do get, we do have those crisis rates. But again, it's only in a couple specialties, as you read. It's only in ICU or ER.
So basically what you're saying is like in the ICU departments we've got a huge demand.
Yes.
However, because of that,
Mhm.
we don't have any demand in the rest of the hospital.
Correct.
So hopefully this helps you to understand
That's exactly right.
some of the give and take that's happening. I gotta be honest with you, just so you know, I'm in the staffing industry. I've been in it for 12 years. I'm still trying to figure out some of the nuances of the travel nursing as well. So please don't feel weird if you're a little bit confused.
Yeah.
The second thing is that nurses can cancel contracts.
Well, nurses
But this
really
is not
can't.
advised.
Exactly.
Tell them why.
Okay. First of all, if you cancel a contract, now, like Corey mentioned earlier, there are emergencies that happen. So what I suggest to a nurse, if you have a family emergency and it's something you could take care of within a week or so, okay, we could add that to the end of your contract. Now, if it's something really major happened and you know you cannot do the contract, we work with you one way or another to try to fit that in on the end, because it's not good to walk off a contract. And we have nurses that do that. Very rare again, but it does happen. It happens for instances they can't work with the coworkers.
Mhm.
Okay, it's friction.
Right.
Okay, so we go in and we try to talk to the nurse manager, try to iron things out. We're their advocate, so we're trying to make sure everything works out good, so this nurse don't have to cancel. Because if she canceled then and literally walk off of that, you could be blackballed to the point where you're not able to go on another contract. Because just like you stated in one of the other videos, we work with a lot of VMSs, and your name is in there. Once we put your profile in there, they see that. And that
Right.
hinders you from getting contracts.
Let me explain this and really break this down here. A VMS is a vendor management contract. A staffing company has to go to a VMS or vendor management service provider to get a contract with that vendor management service provider so that we can provide resources to the hospital. The vendor management service provider, they keep track of every staffing firm and every candidate that goes through there. Okay, if the vendor management service provider deems that the staffing agency is not producing right, listen, they'll blackball us.
Absolutely.
However, if you cancel contracts and the VMS begins to track all of this, they can blackball employees just as much as they can a staffing agency. So a great example is when we very first started many years ago into staffing for hospitals under a VMS, Trinity, we didn't understand all of the nuances, like the way that the VMS wanted us to submit documents. And for a short while, we were blackballed because they didn't like the way that we were submitting documents. Now, they didn't tell us this. They just blackballed us. And we had to go through a process of letting them know what happened and then shifting recourse. All right, the VMS will share information with other VMSs. I am telling you, they have the power to blackball people, and they have enough candidates where they can do it. We need to wrap this one up, but I wonder if we ought to go through a second version of this.
Yes.
But for time purposes, we're going to do a second part on this particular video cast. So stay tuned for that. If Trinity can help you in any way, give us a call at 918-622-2588. We would love to talk with you about travel nursing options for you. Trust me, you'll love speaking with Darcel. So give us a call or check us out online at trinityemployment.com.